For over 600 years, one empire stood at the crossroads of continents, a sprawling giant of immense power and cultural richness. From the gates of Vienna to the sands of Yemen, the Ottoman Empire was a dominant force, shaping the destinies of millions. But by the dawn of the 20th century, this once mighty state was known as the sick man of Europe. How did such a powerful empire crumble into dust? This is the story of the dramatic and complex collapse of the Ottoman Empire. To understand its fall, we first have to appreciate its incredible longevity. Founded around 1299, the Ottoman state grew from a small Anatolian principality into a transcontinental superpower. Its conquest of Constantinople in 1453 cemented its place in history, making it the successor to the Roman Empire and the leader of the Islamic world. For centuries, it was a hub of science, art, and commerce. But empires, no matter how grand, are not eternal. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the cracks began to show. The first major challenge was external. The Industrial Revolution in Europe created a massive power imbalance. Western nations, with their advanced technology and booming economies, began to surpass the Ottomans. Military defeats became more frequent. Territories in the Balkans, rich in resources and strategically important, were lost one by one to nationalist uprisings, often backed by European powers like Russia and Austria-Hungary. The empire that once made Europe tremble was now on the defensive, struggling to keep its vast, diverse territories together. Internally, the empire was also facing immense pressure. It was a multi-ethnic, multi-religious state, home to Turks, Arabs, Greeks, Armenians, Kurds, and many others. For centuries, this diversity was managed through the millet system, which allowed religious communities a degree of self-governance. But the rise of nationalism, a powerful new idea imported from Europe, changed everything. Suddenly, people began to identify more with their ethnic group than with the empire. Greeks wanted a Greek state, Serbs a Serbian state, and Arabs began dreaming of their own independence. The very fabric of the Ottoman identity was tearing apart. In an attempt to save the state, a series of ambitious reforms, known as the Tanzimat, were launched in the mid-19th century. These reforms aimed to modernize the army, the bureaucracy, and the legal system, and to create a new, unified Ottoman citizenship to counter the pull of nationalism. A constitution was even introduced in 1876, creating a parliament and heralding a new era of constitutional monarchy. It was a bold and revolutionary step, but it was perhaps too little, too late. The deeply conservative Sultan Abdul Hamid II suspended the constitution and parliament just 2 years later, ruling as an autocrat for 3 decades. While he continued some modernization projects, particularly in education and infrastructure like the Hejaz Railway, his repressive policies and paranoia only deepened the internal divisions. The final act began in 1908. A group of reform-minded military officers and intellectuals, known as the Young Turks, staged a revolution, forcing the Sultan to restore the constitution. Their goal was to re-energize the empire, to centralize power, and to create a strong, modern, Turkish-led state. But their policies often alienated the non-Turkish populations even further. Their vision of Ottomanism increasingly looked like Turkification, which only fueled Arab and Balkan nationalism. The empire was a powder keg, and the Young Turks had just lit the fuse. The disastrous Balkan Wars of 1912 and 1913 saw the empire lose almost all its remaining European territories. Humiliated and weakened, the Ottoman leadership looked for a powerful ally to help them reclaim their lost glory. They found one in Germany. When the First World War broke out in 1914, the Ottoman Empire made a fateful decision. It joined the Central Powers. This decision sealed its doom. The war was a catastrophe on every level. The Ottoman army, though fighting bravely in some theaters like the Gallipoli campaign, was stretched thin across multiple fronts, from the Caucasus against Russia to Mesopotamia and Palestine against the British. The economy collapsed under the strain of total war. Society fractured. In the chaos of the war, the Young Turk government, fearing an internal uprising, carried out the systematic deportation and massacre of its Armenian population. This horrific event, known as the Armenian Genocide, remains a dark and tragic stain on the empire's final years. Meanwhile, another front was opening up from within. Stirred by promises of independence from the British, Arab nationalist leaders launched the Arab Revolt in 1916. Led by figures like Sharif Hussein of Mecca and his sons, and aided by the legendary British officer T.E. Lawrence, or Lawrence of Arabia, Arab forces attacked Ottoman garrisons and sabotaged the critical Hejaz railway. The empire was now fighting enemies from without and within. By 1918, it was exhausted. With its allies collapsing and its armies in retreat, the Ottoman Empire signed the Armistice of Mudros, effectively surrendering to the Allied powers. The war was over, but the final humiliation was yet to come. Allied troops occupied Constantinople and carved up the empire's territories for themselves. But the story doesn't end there. From the ashes of the empire, a new movement arose. Led by a brilliant and charismatic army officer named Mustafa Kemal, a Turkish nationalist resistance movement ignited in Anatolia. They fought against the occupying Allied forces and the collaborationist Sultan-esque government in what became the Turkish War of Independence. Against all odds, Mustafa Kemal's forces were victorious. In 1922, they abolished the 600-year-old Ottoman Sultanate. The last sultan, Mehmed VI, fled into exile aboard a British warship. The following year, the Republic of Turkey was officially proclaimed, with Mustafa Kemal, now known as Ataturk, or Father of the Turks, as its first president. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire was not a single event, but a long, painful process of military defeat, economic decline, and nationalist fragmentation. Its fall redrew the map of the modern Middle East, creating new countries and new conflicts that continue to shape our world today. The legacy of this once great empire is complex, a story of both magnificent achievement and tragic failure. It serves as a powerful reminder that even the mightiest empires can fall, and that the forces of history, technology, and identity are relentless in their power to forge new futures from the remnants of the past. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that shaped our world.